Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Nintendo News Roundup live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. The All-In crew breaks down the week in Nintendo news. Good to see everybody here in the chat live on youtube.com/allinpodcast. How you doing, Eric? Good to see you.
I can't complain. Nice big Evo weekend. I'm super hyped, as you can imagine. We've already got a few things coming out of Evo this weekend. We've already got a new Under Night game confirmed for Switch. We've already got new stuff coming out about Nick All-Star Brawl 2, but it's all still unraveling right now. So make sure to tune in next week for our full breakdown of all the news from this weekend's Evo 2023. It's sure to be a couple more big announcements.
Nice. Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to say about that next week. But before we get any further, my friend, you know what we have to do.
The people that I would absolutely main if they were in a fighting game are patrons.
Let's thank the wonderful patrons, part of our all-in fighting game roster over there at patreon.com.
That would be so dope.
/all-in podcast. Huge thanks to all the friends and supporters who throw a few bones our way over there. Especially our Golden Banana tier supporters like Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, Sean O'Baggins, Ashton, Tim A, aka Neoprime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt, Shy Guy City Murray, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Bowza, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, and Foolish Fuji. Huge thanks to our Golden Banana bunch. Moving into our Triforce tier. We got to thank Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday. John Dat Fast Cummins of the Retro Logic podcast, which just returned this week. The triumphant return of the Retro Logic podcast, as well as the On Topic Retro podcast, the Globetrotting, Jet-Setting Nintendo Hub and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube. Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove podcast, as well as the Octorock 1982 YouTube channel. Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad. Thank you, Shy Guy. Danielina Hosa, Dan and Luma, Solo Something, and the legend himself.
The final boss of the all-in fighting game, Uncle Randy.
And he doesn't need to get nerfed. He's completely fair.
Hashtag don't nerf Uncle Randy.
Thanks so much to all of our Patreon supporters. Y'all are the best. Lockless here in the chat. Whale, hello. We got Sam here in the chat. Says it's that time of the week. Time to go all in. That's right. Sam says, I heard evil weekend and I refuse to accept correction. So it's evil weekend this weekend.
Evil weekend. No, but it's absolutely time to go all in.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Got the game gestures going on.
I like that. Okay, cool. Well, my friend, we have got no shortage of news to get into tonight. So what do you say we get into it?
No, we don't. Oh, I'm super excited for this week's Seth. So let's talk about it.
I hit the button for Navi, but I didn't hear Navi, so I don't know what happened. In any case, Navi, welcome to send to the news roundup as always. Where do we want to start with? We got like so much to get into. What do we want to start with?
We do. I think the biggest objective news story of the week is the big Nintendo financial report that came out this week, because there are a couple big takeaways from that, and I know that you're a super big Nintendo financial numbers guy, and there's a couple things we're talking about in here.
I like to peruse the numbers. There's some interesting stuff. We did indeed get the NCL Q1 2024 financial briefing. This is from April 1st to June 30th, the first quarter of the 2024 financial fiscal year for Nintendo Co. Limited. And yeah, there were some cool, I won't go over every single thing. Won't be here all night, but there were a couple of big highlights. First of all, new Nintendo Switch hardware sales figures. It's now at 129.53 million units sold. They sold 3.91 million units this quarter, and 2.83 million of them were OLEDs, which I thought were interesting. Like the fact that, you know, we're kind of at this place where, you know, the Switch has seen such meteoric success up until this point. It's the third best-selling console of all time. And yet 3.91 million units sold in a quarter feels soft is kind of a good place to be in, you know?
Well, I mean, I wonder how much of it is still even that $50 differential just between the base model and the OLED? Like, how much of that was the light? Do we know?
It's very little. I mean, very
Yeah.
very little, because you got to think, like, this whole quarter, 3.91 million units sold total, and almost all of them were OLEDs. 2.83 million were OLEDs. So, like,
Yeah.
a little over a million of them were between the regular Switch and
Base
the
model
Switch Lite.
and the light.
So,
Yeah. I think people are just, I just think that speaks to like just how much people are ready to move up.
mhm.
At least how many people are switching. I'm sure a lot of those were also people switching from the base model to an OLED.
Yeah. Well, my
So
my thought too, a lot of these, in fact, I bet the majority of these sales were specifically the Tears of the Kingdom OLED.
yeah,
So
that's fair.
I think that's probably what a lot of it was too.
Well,
So
I mean, because Tears of the Kingdom certainly has some numbers too.
yeah, it did. It sold 18.51 million units. And that's just what has been reported so far. And this is, again, less than 2 months on market. This reports through June 30th. So that's less than 2 months. It sold 18.51 million. Breath of the Wild is around like 30 million. So, I mean, it sold like 2/3 practically of Breath of the Wild's lifetime in its first 2 months. So big numbers for tears.
That is nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just think about that in a vacuum.
Hmm.
Like 1 million used to be like the benchmark for a successful game. And I know that Nintendo has always sold a ton of copies and everything like this, but you know, the player's choice, the greatest hits, the mark for that was always supposedly around 1 million copies. And like that's already enough to bump it into the top 10 Switch games of all time, right?
For a million? No, no,
No,
you
no,
gotta
no,
get.
no. For Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah, it's in there now. Yeah.
After 2 months, the Nintendo Switch has been out for almost 7 years.
Hmm.
And 2 months on market, already in the top 10 Switch best-selling Switch games of all time, of which when it comes to total Switch game sales, that passed 1 billion
Yeah.
with a B, ladies and gentlemen, 1 billion. That's too many games. I love
Yeah.
Nintendo, but that's too many games.
You know what's funny? I heard this really interesting anecdote, because a lot of people don't understand the difference between a million and a billion. Like, a million seconds is around 11 days, right?
Yeah.
A billion seconds is 31 years. That's the difference between a million and a billion. You know, like, it's significant. They sound similar, so I think a lot of people don't realize how large a number that actually is. So very, very, very cool. And yeah, huge sales, no surprise. I mean, like, this is going to be their
Yeah.
biggest game of the year for sure. They did say, this was, I thought, really interesting. Q1
I did notice a
2024.
huge sales bump after our review of the game, so I just want
I
to.
think so. Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure that tracks.
Q1 2024 does represent the highest first-party software sell-through in the history of the Nintendo Switch. So that essentially means that, like, in terms of the amount of copies that they have sold through with first-party software in this, like, window of time, it is the highest in the Switch's lifespan, which is saying something, because this is a console that also had Animal Crossing New Horizons on it. So
Well, I mean, like the Switch is clearly slowing down, right? That's what that means. It's slow. Everybody, all the analysts said, it's clearly slowing down, and this is clearly indicative of that. So
hardware
uh,
is, software's not. Hardware is, software's not. Yeah. I think that and there's been a lot of, like, stuff percolating, and rumors and leaks and
mhm.
all this about the follow-up to the Switch and stuff. We don't really comment on rumors and leaks here on our show, but we of course are aware of them, and it does feel like it's time. There does need to be some
Yeah,
sort of hardware refresh. I think the numbers, reflect that. I think Nintendo is aware of that. They're aware that the
7 years
Switch
is a solid lifespan.
totally, yeah, totally. So, we'll see how that manifests. Another quick thing I wanted to hit, from the numbers here: Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 22.66 million units, which is huge, obviously.
Yeah,
If you remember, when it came out, it sold 20 million of those 22.66 million units within its first, like, 2 weeks or whatever that crazy number was.
hmm
So I do think it's interesting that the game has like really plateaued in
Yeah.
terms of its sales, which is kind of common for Pokemon. Like Pokemon typically gets like an explosion at launch and then it sort of trickles along from there. But
It has
um,
its fan base. People know they're going to pick it up.
yeah, but it is interesting to me. Like I thought for sure, based on those like launch window sales, that we would get a steadier, projection than this. And I don't know if it's because of word of mouth, with the obvious issues that the game has. I don't know if it's because DLC has not come yet. I don't know if it's also potentially because like they did release 2 Pokemon games last year, which I am sure muddied the messaging, and I'm sure there are people who are like, I kind of don't need another Pokemon right now. But whatever the case may be, like since last November, the game's only sold like 2 million more copies.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting.
I don't know. I don't know. Could be. Could be people are waiting on more news, which we might be getting soon.
We are, in fact, getting soon. We did get announced earlier today that a
Yep.
new Pokemon Presents is happening next week on Tuesday, August 8th at 6 a.m. Pacific. It will be 35 minutes in length, which I think might well be the longest Pokemon Presents in history. I don't think there's been a longer one than this.
And it's easy to say temper your expectations, but considering the way that they showed it off, the way they've marketed it, the way they presented it in this announcement, they're clearly trying to specifically hype something up. They're trying to get people, I mean, obviously they want people to be excited for the Pokemon Presents, but there was a very clear, very intentional tease in there. And I'm sure a lot of people already have their ideas. You and I certainly have our ideas, and that's the entire point of hype. That's the entire point of these teases is speculation. But what it was they took the Pokemon Presents logo and kind of quickly glitched over it with a purple neon, kind of superimposition, and then another glitched purple neon M very briefly appeared, very obviously. And I mean, purple and M, I think a lot of people immediately, their thoughts go to Mewtwo. And when it comes to the purple neon thing, just kind of my immediate lizard brain went to the logo for the Detective Pikachu movie, which was partially neon, blue neon, but still partially neon. And minor spoilers, but Mewtwo does play a fairly key role in that movie. So my just kind of immediate lizard brain thought went to maybe we're actually getting an announcement of a live action sequel to the Detective Pikachu movie, which wouldn't surprise me because it was fairly well received, both critically and commercially. So that would actually make sense. And in terms of what they could potentially announce here, that would actually get people excited, because there's no way we're getting an announcement of another core Pokemon game. We could get an announcement of a spin-off or something. That could definitely happen. But just in terms of big actual potential announcements that are realistic, I would say that's probably at the top of the list for me. But I mean, again, that's the whole thing about speculation, is I could be completely off base. What about you, bud?
No, I'm in agreement. I think that like the neon, like, cause yeah, it glitches out. The Pokemon Presents like logo turns into a purple and pink like neon sign. The M is curious because not only do they very clearly focus on the M, but the M, like when it glitches, it produces like 2 M's. So like Mewtwo seems
Mewtwo and Mew.
kind of obvious, right? And that seems like what they're sort of like hinting at, or if not that, I don't really know what else it would be. But yeah, like the neon signage definitely evokes the live action Detective Pikachu movie. We of course do have Detective Pikachu 2 coming out in a couple of months at this point, just like 2 months and change.
Exactly.
At this point. So like there is a good like cross marketing, potential there if they're ready to show even a teaser for Detective Pikachu 2, like the movie Detective Pikachu 2. there's a really good opportunity to sort of like cross promote those things. So I think that is probably what is happening here.
Now, the biggest argument against that is obviously the ongoing strike right now with
Yeah.
SAG-AFTRA, because Detective Pikachu, despite Pokemon being a predominantly Japanese IP, the Detective Pikachu movie was produced in America.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, Justice Smith, it was not a Japanese movie dubbed into English. It was effectively an American movie. So that's the biggest argument against it being announced here is the ongoing strike. And with the potential that something like that could be delayed pretty easily. I don't know. That's maybe you don't want to say, hey, this awesome thing is coming. And then 2 days later say, hey, this awesome thing's been delayed.
Well, I don't think I like when it comes to the movie, I don't think they'll breathe a word about a date or anything like that. I think they'll just, because any sort of assets or anything that they might have made for like a teaser announcement would have been in place well before the strike.
Yeah.
So I think if that is what is happening, I think they probably already have that stuff ready to go. So I think they could just probably pretty easily say like, hey, this is happening and this is coming, but we're not going to commit to a date because we don't know realistically when that is going to materialize. But it could just be even just the announcement of it is like an exciting thing, a piece of artwork, a short little like teaser if they've actually filmed anything at this point, could be cool and could get people excited. And again, it just ties in so perfectly with the new game. You have to imagine the game is going to be here as well. I would love, and something that I think there's a non-zero chance of happening is I would love a demo for Detective Pikachu Returns.
Okay, I could see that.
I think it'd be great. They did that with the first game on 3DS. It worked very well. That's what sold me on the game, is being able to actually play it. And I like predicted this when the direct was coming, but I would have really liked if they had ported the original game over to get people caught up. And it would be I'm not saying that I think this is going to happen, but it'd be a really neat thing if they said, hey, get caught up. It's available now on the Nintendo Switch. Detective Pikachu 1, port it over. You have 2 months, get caught up with the story, get hyped. That would be very exciting. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. In fact, it probably won't, but I just want to throw it out there.
Yeah. Now, in terms of other big announcements that they could potentially throw out on Monday, which is when this is happening, August 8th.
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. We know we're going to get stuff for Pokemon Unite. We know we're going to get stuff for Pokemon Masters EX. We know we're going to get stuff for Pokemon Cafe Remix. We know those games are going to be there. But there's only one confirmed Game Boy game left coming to NSO at this point. And you and I have already spoken about the potential of them revealing the Pokemon games from the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance coming to the NSO apps via a Pokemon Presents. And I still think that is a very likely outcome at some point. They may make them some type of premium or something, but I think that's a realistic expectation, is those getting announced as well.
It's one of those things where like, it's going to depend on what makes the most sense for them financially, because I think they know, like, even when those games hit the 3DS Virtual Console, they charged a premium for them.
Yes, they did.
Game Boy games on the 3DS Virtual Console ranged from $5.99 to $7.99. Those games were $9.99.
Were $9.99. Yep.
And then, like, in addition to that, like the different language versions, like if you wanted multiple languages, you had to buy separate, so they know that these games are valuable. And I don't know, like much like we've said recently about games like Chrono Trigger and Mario RPG, like I don't really know what the benefit of that is versus versus getting like them to put it on a cartridge and quietly sell millions of units of a potentially $60 cartridge of retro Pokemon games. Call it Pokemon Origins or whatever, and then there you go. Well, I'll buy it, So I don't know. I don't know what makes more sense. I don't know like what deal that is that they would have to arrange with the Pokemon company to get that on NSO versus letting them do their own thing. I don't know how any of that works, but I've seen a lot of people like want that. So
yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Well, we do already have quite a few of the spin-offs on the NSO apps. We've got Pokemon Puzzle League, we've got the original Pokemon Snap, we've got Pokemon TCG, which is,
It's coming.
forthcoming still.
Yeah.
So we've got several very notable Pokemon uh, spin-offs already on the system. Of course, I know there's a big difference between those spin-offs and the core experiences. But I still think there's a chance that that could happen,
There's a
especially
chance.
given I don't want to call it an apology, but it's like, hey guys, we're still working on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, still working on those patches. Enjoy Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on us.
Yeah, well, maybe that certainly would be nice. I would honestly, the best thing that they could, because I do think they have to put a date on this Scarlet and Violet DLC here.
Yeah, that's absolutely happening.
They have to. I can't imagine a world where that doesn't happen here. But like, man, it would be so. I would love it if they like came out and just said like, hey, you know what? Like, we're not announcing any new like hardcore like mainline Pokemon things because we're dedicating ourselves to actually fixing this thing, which has still not seen any major improvement in the nearly year it's been since its release. It's unacceptable, despite the fact that they publicly promised that they would be fixing it. So we'll see what happens with it, but like that would be nice. Like if there was a dedicated like just kind of like let's actually address this, let's talk about it. This is when the patch is coming. Is like I gotta imagine. I mean, I don't know, but I have not heard anybody say that they like pre-ordered, are looking forward to, are hyped for the DLC. They're trying to sell DLC to people who've already been burned by a busted game, So I'm gonna be really curious to see how they handle that communication, or if they care at all. They might not. They might not say a thing about it.
Just slowly moving on.
Yeah, just dedicate those resources to the next thing. Cut your losses. Hey, we sold our 22 million units, whatever. Maybe that's exactly what they'll do. That wouldn't shock me either. Let me posit this, Eric, and I don't want to feel like I'm personally targeting you with this prediction.
Oh no.
But I was thinking about this because the Mewtwo thing, a lot of people have been talking about Mewtwo and stuff, but it also has like this kind of like, yeah, the dark, glitchy sort of thing. It made me think of Shadow Mewtwo in particular. And as you well know, Shadow Mewtwo debuted in Pokken Tournament, and we've got Evo going on this weekend. A lot of fighting game news already is percolating. It'd be kind of a great button on a weekend of fighting game news to announce a new Pokken Tournament at this thing. I don't want to get you excited, but that.
I'm sorry, I just glitched. I'm sorry, did something just happen?
Yeah.
No, yes, I would love that. I absolutely would. See, here's the thing with that is Bandai Namco was the studio like really behind Pokken Tournament, and they are like all hands on deck right now for Tekken 8.
Mm-hmm.
So if it happens, few people would be happier than I would, but just realistically, my brain's thinking is like, there's no way they're going to, split resources while they're trying to release a brand new core version of their premier fighting game franchise.
Maybe. Yeah, you might be
right now. So I would still love that. I would absolutely love that. And I could absolutely see that interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Because yes, Shadow Mewtwo was the focal point, was the final boss of Pokken Tournament, a game that I actually popped back in just a couple days ago, as a matter of fact. But yeah, that would make me really. Pokken Tournament is such. I feel like it's still a very underappreciated member of the Pokemon spin-off family, an incredibly unique fighting game. Even just taking Pokemon out of the mix and it being a licensed game, it's such a unique and interesting arena fighting game. It transitions from 3D fighter to 2D fighter, and it's got all these, like the characters themselves, because they're Pokemon, are also wonderfully unique. Something that many studios struggle to really achieve with their fighting games, is that each of the characters feels completely unique and plays completely differently. It's not just a couple special moves that really sell the difference. It's every attack makes each character feel completely unique. So, like, yeah, Pokken Tournament would be a great game to follow up on. I I'm trying to temper my expectations in that regard, but if it happens, you may have to check on me.
Well, Phelan's here in the chat says a couple things. First of all, Phelan said, "Don't do that. Don't give me hope, Seth."
Exactly.
And then the second thing Phelan said is Harada has openly stated that they would love to make Pokken 2. They just
Yeah.
need the go-ahead from the Pokemon Company first. So, yeah, that would be cool. That's a place that my head went. Another place that my head went.
Yeah,
Because,
Harada's a huge fan of it.
yeah, so I'm thinking
Harada,
of,
by the way, for those who don't know, is the game head for Tekken.
yeah.
He's the Tekken guy.
Yeah. So that would be cool. I was already in this headspace of thinking about like Shadow Mewtwo and stuff, and when it comes
Yeah.
to Shadow Pokemon, another sort of like fan favorite game that has Shadow Pokemon at its heart is Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which is another game that would be an incredibly hype announcement if they announced a follow-up
That's
or
true.
a port of Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. That
That's
would
true.
be huge. So, I don't know. I'm gonna be fascinated to see what this is. It's got these like dark shadow undertones. It's clearly hinting at Mewtwo. So whatever it ends up being, I'm gonna be interested. Hey, Bowser says she's here lurking on the road. Appreciate you, Bowser. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there too. There are a lot of things this could be, which is exciting.
Yeah. Watch it just be like some kind of mention about the shadow Pokemon from Pokemon Go or something like that.
Maybe it's
Like
like, hey,
the Team
there's
Rocket shadow Pokemon from Pokemon Go.
there's a Shadow Pokemon Terra Raid event going on in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, that wouldn't shock me one bit. But in any case, this is going to be 35 minutes. This is going to be this is like Nintendo Direct length.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a nice long presentation. Probably going to live react to it here on the YouTube channel. So maybe get excited for that. Looking forward to it, man. We'll see what we get. We'll see
Yes,
what
sir.
happens.
Yes, sir. 35 minutes. There's got to be something worth talking about in there.
Got to be something in there, baby. But Eric, there's an even more interesting presentation happening.
Only Devolver.
The day before, on Monday, Devolver Digital is holding, they call it a showcase, but it's really like a 3-minute like video. It's called Devolver Delayed. The quote, first ever showcase celebrating games that are courageously moving into 2024. End quote. On Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific, Devolver will be delaying a ton of games, apparently.
Only Devolver would put it through that type of filter. Only they would frame it that way. It's like, hey, check out all these announcements you're inevitably going to be disappointed by. I mean, Devolver puts out a ton of amazing titles. I wish they'd fix kind of how they do their proper direct presentations, but ultimately they put out a ton of really quality games. We have featured so many Devolver games in indie showcases in the past, and you know, if the games need to be delayed, delay them. Let them cook. There are so many games, especially indie games, that have benefited greatly from delays, and I do appreciate them trying to put a positive spin on it, trying to put a little bit of a humorous spin on it, because regardless of how understanding a lot of people are, it is still disappointing that something you're excited for, you have to wait longer for.
Yeah.
But we already know a lot of the games that they're working on. So they're basically just told us, hey, all of the games that we currently have in stock, they could all potentially be delayed, but you'll have to wait a few days to find out if your favorite is actually being delayed. I would much rather them have just come out and said, hey, these are the games that have been delayed, rather than just wait to see, because this is kind of like the anti-hype. It's like you hope to see stuff at some presentations. At this presentation, you hope to not see stuff. And you're just waiting, essentially. Is like, man, I hope this isn't there. I hope this isn't there. I hope this isn't there. And anti-hype is not really something you want to linger. It's not really something you want to draw out. I really wish they just would have come out and said, hey, here's what's going on. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I don't think this was 100% the best way to handle it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. But at the same time, I kind of like the like not I mean they literally use the word celebrating. Like celebrating the fact that a game is being delayed. I think the intentionality here, yeah, it's like a cute marketing stunt, whatever.
Yeah.
Devolver is like well known for that, and that's all
Oh, yes, they
fine.
are.
But like I'm hopeful that this actually kind of like destigmatizes a game delay a little bit. Like I'm kind of hopeful that
Okay.
them like kind of leaning into it a little bit like this will maybe like curb a little bit of like not just disappointment, but like, hey, it's okay that things are getting delayed. Let's actually, like, the quote is celebrating games that are courageously moving into 2024, and it's kind of cute and flowery or whatever, but like I like this idea of like, hey, it's okay, they need more time. Yeah, it's disappointing or whatever, but actually it's kind of a brave thing to delay the game too, because we know it's going to be disappointing, you know.
And knowing Devolver, they're not going to do it this way because it's them, but it would actually be really cool if they started the video by saying, hey guys, we get it, delays stink, but here's why we think they're necessary, and we really appreciate the fact that our developers are taking more time and are going further, head down and all this stuff, and are working even harder to get this stuff out. I know they're probably going to put some kind of ridiculous spin on it. It's like, hey, look at these games that are, have chosen to. They're probably going to be way too tongue in cheek with it, which I think is going to put a bad taste in my mouth. But if they just came out and were very front facing and said, guys, yeah, we know delays stink. Here's what's going on. But we really think this is for the best for both our developers and for you guys, because we want to make the best possible experiences for all of our amazing fans, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they don't try to be too cute with it, because this is not one of those things that, even being Devolver, the studio that gets away with being weird and tongue in cheek and even kind of grotesque and obscene sometimes, this is not the time for them to be making light of disappointing stuff.
And even if it is, it's only 3 minutes long. So like it's not
Exactly.
going to be a huge thing. It's probably, I mean, it's at least 2 games because it's celebrating games, plural. So at least 2 games are getting delayed. I think, I mean, I hate to say it because we have it in Fantasy League, but the Plucky Squire's totally getting delayed. Like it just.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. And I, it sucks, but like the ones that I hope don't get delayed are exactly the ones I think will. The Plucky Squire and Pepper Grinder, I think, are both.
And that's exactly why I wish they had just, kind of, because here we are waiting to be disappointed, essentially.
Well, you take the good with the bad. On one hand, it'll be disappointing, especially since we have the Plucky Squire in Fantasy League. That'll be disappointing. Gunbrella could also potentially be delayed. I don't know that I think it is, but it could. But it'll be disappointing in one hand. In the other, like, you're not gonna get a worse game because of it. So you take the good with the bad. We'll see. We'll definitely be talking about it next week after it happens. I'm not gonna live react to a 3-minute video, but we'll talk about it next week on the show for sure. But Eric, moving a little bit away from disappointment into pleasant surprise.
Yes, something we got a date for.
Kind of out of nowhere too, and actually way earlier than I thought we were going to be getting it. That final Rayman themed DLC for Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, properly revealed fully and given a date this week. It's called Rayman in the Phantom Show. You've got the team of Rayman, Rabid Mario, and Rabid Peach taking on the Phantom from the first game. Fan favorite character, maybe the best segment in the first game.
Probably.
And it's great to see the return. Yeah,
that musical themed battle in the first Mario plus Rabbids was so good. A lot of people immediately, when it comes to bosses, a lot of people kind of immediately think of Rabbid Kong, but man, the Phantom was just so pitch perfect, pun intended. Um, but yeah, that I'm so happy. That was honestly like I'm excited to play the DLC, but seeing that the Phantom was coming back, even knowing that Rayman is the big selling point of this DLC, that was my big. I was like, oh my god, it's the Phantom. He's coming. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me too. Like I'm excited that Rayman's coming back. That's cool. The longtime Rayman series composer is guest composing on the DLC, which is neat. And
Mm-hmm.
Rayman's like longtime voice actors voicing him in this too, which is cool. You know, but it's coming this month on
Yeah.
August 30th, which is way sooner than I thought. Like I thought this is going to be like an October, November thing, especially since we
They said
just got
fall.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
And we just got that last piece of DLC, that last Spark Hunter or whatever. Like, I feel like that just came out like, what, a month or two ago, if that?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Last Spark Hunter wasn't too long ago, and here we go. We're getting the final piece of the season pass, the first season pass. For I'm not implying that there's going to be a second one. I'm just
yeah, I
saying.
don't think so either. Yeah.
I don't think so. They didn't have more than one for the first game, and I'm sure this is going to put a like. Grant Kirkhope already kind of definitively said he finished his work on the game, knowing that it's part of this makes me very excited. But he already kind of definitively said he's done with all of his stuff now. But yeah, nice one to go out on. This was something that we've known since the game came out that we were finally going to be seeing Rayman back in some form or fashion. Super excited that it gets to be with a fan favorite character from this game. I think throwing the Phantom in there is just going to having Rayman being able to bounce off the Phantom is just going to make the entire experience so much better. Having a character that people are excited are coming back, going up against a character that many people who played the first game are excited to see return. I think that was a very good call.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Now that this is out, I'm finally like, okay, like now I'll jump back in, play all
Yep.
this DLC stuff that they've added, and
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. But I am a little concerned that maybe the scale of this will be smaller than people are hoping. Given what we've seen, the trailer, it looks like it's a fairly compartmentalized thing.
Yeah.
Where like we had that DK adventure
Yep.
expansion for the first game, which was great and fairly big, like fairly like meaty kind of side story. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the metric that everybody's sort of holding this one to. Like this is what everybody's sort of expecting scale wise, like a bit of a corollary there. And I don't know that that's what this is gonna be. I mean, like I hope it is, but like looking at it, I feel like it's gonna be more of like a scenario versus a massive, new story. But I hope I'm wrong. We'll see.
Uh, Regardless, I'm excited. I haven't played the last Spark Hunter yet, but same
Me either.
as you. When this one drops at the end of August, this is going to bring me back in, and I'm going to just blow through all the DLC. The last Spark Hunter, the Tower of Doom, and then Rayman and the Phantom going head to head. God, I cannot wait to see the song.
Yeah,
just
the song would be
I'm on it,
good.
just excited for that. Just the song from that fight. I mean, they know that the Phantom is, they know they've got to bring their A game when it comes to content, including the Phantom. So I'm hoping that it's a very musically inclined campaign throughout. Excited to see
Yeah.
that. I do kind of wish that we could have gotten. I know Rayman coming is really cool, but it would have been really cool if they could have brought even just one more character like Glowbox or
Mm-hmm.
the fairy or somebody else in as a supporting character rather than just having two of the rabbits, even like a rabid Glowbox or something
Right.
like that. That
Yeah.
I don't think that would have been too
And that
un
maybe that contributes to my feeling of this just being kind of slight, maybe. But like I again, I hope I'm wrong. That's just kind of the feeling I get from everything that we've seen. And I think maybe that contributes to it. The fact that it is just like Rayman, Rabbid Mario, Rabbid Peach. It's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to take anything
oh yeah.
away from it, but I'm coming in with tempered expectations personally. So
Yeah, game is still amazing though. You guys should definitely check it out
fantastic
if you
game.
haven't.
Yeah,
Game is still really, really good. Did a review for that last year already. Good lord.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of fan favorite returns, Ratatan was announced during Bit Summit, and its Kickstarter launched this past week and was funded within an hour. So huge congrats. This is effectively a spiritual successor to Patapon, which is one of my favorite PlayStation franchises. And this is a lot of the original team coming back and basically making like the indie version of Patapon. And the Kickstarter's been so successful, in fact, that they've already crushed a console release stretch goal and have officially confirmed a Nintendo Switch version of the game. And that is when they got Seth's money. So, yeah.
Yeah, you specifically were talking to me about, I was like, yeah, well, it's not official on Switch yet, so I haven't backed it yet, but the second it does, they're getting my money, and you were good to your word. Very good. I still haven't backed it yet, although, I mean, I'm going to. Patapon was a very, very interesting and unique franchise that started on the PlayStation Portable, I believe, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's, very rhythm-based. If you remember, like, what was it called? Poco Loco or Poco
Loco Roco.
Loco Roco. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of weird. It was essentially PlayStation backed indie. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
These didn't feel like, big AAA super budget games. This felt like an indie creativity with the backing of a big studio. And Patapon and Loco Roco, Poco Coco, Suboko were both super. Yeah. We're both really successful in the PlayStation Portable. They had, I know Patapon showed up in PlayStation All Stars, but yeah, there hasn't really been nor hide nor hair of the series since then in any way, shape, or form. And it's always like the indie space now that's making these spiritual successor games to forgotten gems. Obviously, you've got Ukulele and, Mighty Number 9 attempted that. And you've got Bloodstained Curse of the Moon and so on and so forth. All of these small teams going to the indie space to finally build on these beloved video game franchises of yore. And Patapon / Ratata is just the latest example of that. And I really hope a lot of people check this out.
Yeah, it looks great. Patapon, it's a special little series, and I'm not surprised that Sony doesn't want to continue it. So it's great that they, have so much passion for it that they're like, well, cool, we'll just do our own thing. The big point of difference here, and this is something they were starting to kind of tap into with Patapon as the series progressed, but one of the big points of difference with this game is actually you're going to have characters. In Patapon, you were effectively their god, commanding this tribe of Patapon that worshipped you. In this, you're actually going to play these different commanders that have different skills and stuff, which looks really cool and interesting. The stretch goals, they've been absolutely crushing it. They've already confirmed, like I said, a Nintendo Switch version of the game. David Wise is going to be a guest composer. There's going to be chiptune versions of all of the songs on the soundtrack. That's already been confirmed, and there's all kinds of other stuff coming out. So there's a mysterious stretch goal, currently their highest stretch goal, which is just question mark, and it just says voice from the past. So I don't know what that could mean, but it's been great to follow it along. The campaign lasts until September 1st, so if you're a Patapon fan, this needs to be on your radar. So.
Yeah, and super excited. I figured they were going to reach that Nintendo Switch stretch goal. And this, I mean, honestly, when you look at what the Nintendo Switch is and the landscape of games on the Nintendo Switch, it's going to fit in so beautifully.
It'll be perfect. I can't wait.
It fits right in on the Switch. So really excited to see that. And it seems like maybe a game they could really optimize for handheld use.
Yeah, there's a physical also. And in fact, I ended up getting it because there's only a $10 difference between the digital version and the physical version. I was like, I'm just gonna get the physical version. So
exactly.
It's a little pricey, all things considered, admittedly more expensive than I thought it was going to be. You know, it's in yen, but the conversion to US is like it's going to be $50 effectively.
Yep.
And then the physical is like $60. So it is like a full price sort of thing, which is a little surprising. I thought 25, 30 maybe is what they're going to be going with, but hey, as long as it earns that price tag, and
Yeah.
they're, you know, the projected release date is not until 2025 anyways, so they've got plenty of time to cook it. But yeah, I'm really excited, man. This is a good one. I was happy to support it.
I am
So
too.
check it
I am
out.
too. Yeah, would love to see more. There's a couple other games, that maybe indie developers could take on. We will see, but very good that Patapon is, kind of finding new life in the new generation. But, Seth, there's a ton of stuff going on this weekend. I'm going to be watching Evo. I'm probably going to make my way out to see the new TMNT Turtles
Me
movie
too.
that just
Yeah.
released. It's going to be awesome. But, I mean, if you want to watch a movie, turns out there's a pretty good option at home for you. If you have Peacock, which I do, as of right now, as we're recording this, the new Super Mario Brothers movie is currently available on Peacock. You can stream it right now. If you didn't have the opportunity to go see it at the theaters, the now second highest grossing animated movie of all time
Yep.
is available to see at home. So go ahead and check it out if you haven't already.
I'm glad it's streaming because now I can just like easily throw it on the TV whenever I want, even just as background noise, which I imagine I'm going to do quite a lot. So, and Peacock's great. Peacock's my favorite streaming service, straight up.
They got a lot
So,
of stuff. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm certainly going to be watching Peacock this weekend. SummerSlam is going on this
Ah,
weekend in
nice.
addition to Evo. And yeah, I'm going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big weekend of fisticuffs for me. The Turtles, Evo, SummerSlam. Probably going to be playing more of this game behind me, which we'll talk about here in a few seconds. But yeah, you and I both watched it. You and I both absolutely adore the new Super Mario Brothers movie. It's streaming now on Peacock if you haven't had the opportunity to see it, or if you haven't had the opportunity to see it 100 times yet.
Yeah, that's true. Well, speaking of fighting, another quick PSA here before we move into notable releases and say goodnight. Dragon Ball FighterZ is the newest NSO free game trial. Until August
Mm-hmm.
10th, you can now, if you're an NSO subscriber, get the full version of the game for free. And if you decide to go ahead and buy it, it's on a massive 84% discount on the full version of the game. In addition to that, the first two Fighters passes are also discounted by 72%. Which each add a ton of new content to the game. So you can pick this game up for very cheap, and if you want to try it out, you can play it for free. So
It's really, really good. I will say I played it years ago on the PlayStation 4, and admittedly they have changed it a lot. It is a very different game from what it originally released. But in addition to a lot of the huge balance patches that they've added to the game, there's also a ton of characters. I mean, obviously, as you guys well know, even for those who haven't seen Dragon Ball Z, it is a ridiculously expansive roster of characters in that universe. And, everybody that you would expect to be in Dragon Ball FighterZ is there. If you're a Marvel versus Capcom fan, it's absolutely a game that you need to at least try. At least try it. Honestly, especially over the past decade, it does Marvel versus Capcom better than the Versus series.
nice. Wow, high
It's
praise.
very good. Now, I will say that was the PS4 version. I have never checked out the Nintendo Switch version, but I do plan on doing that this week. And I've always wanted to see the Switch version, so I will be checking that out over the next couple days in between SummerSlam and Turtles and Evo and everything.
Nice. Absolutely. Well, check it out. If you're an NSO subscriber, you got nothing to lose. But Eric, let's hit some of these notable releases. Some good games, not a like ton, but some solid, high quality stuff came out this week. A couple of them we actually have videos for here on the channel.
Yes, we do. I guess we'll stick with the fisticuffs theme here for just a second. If you guys will take a look at the TV behind me, one of the games that I was most excited for coming out this week is a brand new Arena Kaiju 4-player brawler extravaganza called Giga Bash. It originally released last year on other platforms. It just came to Nintendo Switch, and it's really cool. And I think for a lot of people, the biggest kind of carrot on a stick is the fact that the studio behind it was able to license four of Toho's iconic characters
Yeah.
from their own movies. You have Godzilla himself, Gigan, Mechagodzilla, and Destoroyah, all available to play in the game as downloadable content. It's a really cool game. Like Seth said already, I posted a video on our YouTube channel. Make sure to check that out. I got my lunch handed to me a couple times, not gonna lie, but I had a lot of fun, you guys. I really, really did. I wish there was a demo for this. It's
Yeah.
$24.99 on the eShop right now. The Godzilla themed DLC is $9.99. But oh my god, it really is a lot of fun. I've been waiting for a game like this. I've played some really good arena fighters in the past, and I'm really hoping that the new Naruto/Boruto game coming out later on this year is going to be another really good arena fighter. But when it comes to stuff like War of the Monsters, King of the Monsters, and stuff like that, I've really been wanting a true like something to remind me of like Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee from the GameCube. And this is really scratching that itch for me. So go ahead and check that video out on our YouTube channel right now.
Yes. Well, a video I put up on the channel is one for this game called Venba. And you'll hear us talk much more about both of these games tomorrow on All In, a Nintendo podcast. Links to that are always in the video description. But Venba is this really sort of like heartwarming, life-affirming game about cooking and family, and it tells the story of a family that immigrated from India to Canada, and it's all about their struggles trying to sort of find a new life for their newborn son, and it's great. It's only 2 to 3 hours long, but it is just one of the most heartwarming, sweet, kind-hearted games you'll ever play. I highly recommend it. And yeah, I played about the first like half hour of it or so here on the YouTube channel if you want to see it for yourself. It's excellent. So I highly recommend Venba.
And it's just nice to see more of these cultures finally showing more representation. The game was actually getting review bombed by closed-minded people who were arguing that they couldn't relate to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like guys, just look outside your own window for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Very stupid.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate. They deserve all the success. The game is wonderful. So that came out. Brotato came out this week. If we could just take a hard right, just
well, I mean, it's not that hard of a right. Venba's all about cooking.
That's true.
I mean,
there's potatoes in Venba. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Brotato. You know who loves this game is Shy Guy.
Oh, really?
Shy Guy loves this game. And he was talking about like he put like 30 hours into it or something like that on mobile.
Wow, okay.
This is like a Vampire Survivors kind of thing where you play as like a Rambo potato effectively. Like you're this angry little potato with like machine guns and stuff, and looks fun. I'm curious. It's only like $5 as well. So
sounds like something that should have been in Broforce or something like that.
Yeah. So it you know, it looks interesting. You know, Shy Guy really likes it. I would like to play it. The problem is the release proximity. Vampire Survivors comes out in like 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The 17th. Vampire Survivors comes out on the 17th. And that was exactly what I was about to say. I was like, it's a Vampire Survivors adjacent game right before that one's coming out on the Switch. Yeesh.
Right. Yeah, that's my thing, man. It's like I'm just kind of gonna wait for that one. I would like to play this. I'm sure there are differences. I don't mean to be reductive, but like it's one of the. I do think that it's gonna the proximity to the kind of premier entry in this genre. I do think is going to hurt Brotato a little bit. So
like there's just so many eyes on Vampire Survivor right now.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I might be able to check it out, but if you're interested, like I said, join our Discord. Our good friend Shy Guy, one of our mods, he's a big fan. I'm sure he'd love to tell you more about it.
Yeah. Actually, another one that I wanted to flag here is Tiny Thor
Yes.
Marcus O'Neill is a
Yeah.
huge fan of this game. Marcus O'Neill loves this game, and I really want to play it. This is like a kind of Sega Genesis inspired
Yeah.
kind of combat platformer where, it's right there on the title. You play as a tiny Thor throwing
Yeah.
around your Mjolnir. It looks really interesting.
It does. And like the whole gameplay hook is the fact that, you throw Mjolnir and the fact that it can bounce around.
Yeah.
It's essentially like a bouncing projectile that you use, both in combat, but also to solve puzzles and hit switches. And like that's the whole gameplay hook is Mjolnir's ability to jump around the screen and fly around the screen, and how you can, basically all just the different ways that they can do that. Strictly Limited Games is already announced a physical for that. They were going to have that and its kind of spiritual predecessor, Hammer Boy.
Okay.
So
right.
I actually kind of want to check that out. I was not aware of any spiritual predecessor, but now I kind of want to check out Hammer Boy.
All right. Stop Hammer Boy. Right? Why not?
But yeah, Tiny Thor came out this week as well, if you would like to check that out. And there was one other one. Yeah. I'm not familiar, but Seth, tell me about Flutter Away.
Flutter Away this is at the Wholesome Direct.
Okay.
It's
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's this kind of like cozy, like Pokemon Snap-esque thing where you walk around, take pictures of like cute plants and animals. There's like these cute capybaras and stuff, and like there's like butterflies and birds. It just looks very like cute and sweet and wholesome, and I would like to play it. It seems like the perfect game to sort of like chill out with, kind of a zen, sort of experience. So I'd really like to flutter away with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've already had a couple pretty good photo sims on the Nintendo Switch from indie studios in past recent year. We played Alba last year. Toem we've played with in the last year. So yeah, willing to check out Flutter Away. It just released on the Nintendo Switch. So if you're into photo sims, go ahead and check that out.
Absolutely. That is the notable releases, folks.
So let us know what you guys are up to this weekend. There's certainly a lot going on this weekend. A lot of games that you could be playing. Maybe you can jump online with me, play some Gigabash. Maybe we can stream SummerSlam together. We can watch Evo. We can go see the Turtles movie. We can watch Mario. There's a lot of stuff. It's a good thing that we have our summer vacation episode this weekend because there's a lot of fun to be had, Seth. But let us know what you guys are up to. Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter /X at All In Podcast. Make sure to join our amazing, phenomenal Discord community over in where else? The Discord. Make sure to give a like, follow, subscribe, bell notification, all that stuff here on the YouTube channel, especially if you're watching us here on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, YouTube's only a couple clicks away. We've got a ton of other videos and stuff up there that Seth and I have already talked about. Check out mine on Gigabash. Check out Seth's on Vinba. And also, I would need to tell you guys about all the exclusive content that we make for our patrons.
That's right. Patreon.com/allinpodcast is the place to be. You can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier and see what all the fuss is about. Many of our Golden Banana tier supporters in the chat tonight, Phelan, Bowza, and Sam, were all here, all of them Golden Banana tier supporters.
A bunch of Golden Bananas, you might say.
That's right. A bunch of them. You might say that. So huge thanks to everybody who supports us over there already. We love you guys, and everybody over there that throws a few bones our way. You can also get some merch, bit.ly/allinmerch. You can head over there, get a shirt, get a sticker, get a mug, some good stuff over there. We'd appreciate you for doing that. But if you're listening to us on the audio feeds, you can also drop us some words, leave us a review, whatever podcast service you might be listening to us on. That is very appreciated as well. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, well, all of you guys are very appreciated by us. If you just come and hang out and lurk in our YouTube feeds, if you have dropped words, if you have become one of the Hall of Legends that is our patronage, if you have just shared our content somewhere, some why across this vast internet of ours, we would just like to extend to you. Namaste.
Namaste. That's the news, everybody. Thanks so much to everybody who came out. Hey, tomorrow, as it is every Saturday, a new episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast, will hit your feeds, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be kind of a summer party episode. All of our segments this week are themed around summer. So we're going to have the top 5 beach levels in Nintendo history. We're doing an indie showcase on Arcade Paradise, and of course, our big review of Pikmin 4. All happening tomorrow on the podcast. Links to that are in the video description. If you're watching, you can hit that and check out the podcast for yourself. I promise you'll have a good time. Yeah, that's happening tomorrow. And
nice. I'm gonna go get my sunscreen real quick, guys. So we'll see you tomorrow. Then we'll see you then. Have a great weekend.
That's right. Bye, everybody.